tastes like orange juice. It's like everything you've ever known that's good for you. It's fabulously freaky.
So welcome to the first rendition, Autumn Book Club. And we are going to be talking about The Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. It's going to be a great time. So crack open your spines. I hope you've already read it, because we are going to be going through Spoilerville.
We're going through the whole book. So
Whole book.
It's old. You should have either read it or it's too late. So
Yeah, welcome. What do you want to talk about first? I've never gone to a book club.
from what I see on TV and movies, first thing that they say at a book club meeting is they're like, "So, what did you think about the book?" I feel like I remember sometime in my life somebody telling me that A Brave New World would mess with my head. I think that they meant specifically me, and not that like it will mess with anybody's head. Because I've always had a very skewed view of the world. And, like, a part of me, when we finished the book, I was like, why not? Why not? Like, we're already doing it. It just isn't, like... Because the problem with the world is that, like, it's based on structure, but nothing works inside of that structure. The structure doesn't actually work. Crimes get unpunished. People do things that aren't necessarily supposed to be done. Secrets are kept from people on how you do certain things, but it doesn't actually work. So, like, at least their system worked within the confines in which it was created for.
But that's a big question that everyone always asks. Like,
It's wrong.
Does it work? You know, homeboy John is convinced that no one has freedom in the Brave New World. And so it doesn't work in his eyes.
Yeah. He says that, like, there's no way you can be sad, so you don't have freedom to be happy if it's the only thing that you can do.
I need to know everyone's name right now. Okay, so we listened to the book on Audible by Michael York, and it was freaking fantastic. He does all of these amazing voices. He's also in Logan's Run.
He's so into the reading. It's so inflectious.
And Austin Powers. Do you want to ask me?
How did you feel about the book?
I loved it. It was the third time I've read it in my entire life, and I loved it. Listening to it and being able to share it with someone else is a really special event. So, the ending. I forgot the ending. Completely. I didn't remember how the book ended because I read it in sync with like Fahrenheit 451 and 1984 and, you know, Brave New World. They're all a beautiful trilogy of books, but the ending really gets you. Like, oh my gosh.
Comes out of nowhere.
It comes out of nowhere, and it's like abrupt, and then it's just gone. The book's gone.
It's done.
It's done. One of my biggest questions after reading this the third time is like, why is there not a chapter of Bernard and Helmholtz on an island, chilling out, with all of the people just like welcoming them to the happiest island on the whole world? But apparently also it's like more than one island, because they're all like, what tropic weather place do you want to go? I never remember the word for that. Climate. Which climate would you like to go? Apparently all the islands in all of the Brave New World are just great and full of smarty people, woke people, islands. That's where I would want to be.
That's where we all want to be, babe.
To go to the Schmoop University, step 1, or part 1.
Is the hatchery tour. The hatchery tour is a crazy chapter to read or listen to. There's so much, like, happening, and then they do this, like it's a writing technique is what it would be. And it's like a pendulum, where they're like, we're here, we're there, now we're back, now we're here, now we're here, now here, now here, no. But it was cool. But they describe the whole... They physically make babies the same. They're like clone people. They don't have like breeder women or anything. They like scientifically make babies. And so you have your classes, like your...
Oh, epsilon.
Yeah, you got your epsilons all the way to your alpha pluses. And they all are like genetically more superior than the last. But they're made that way. And they're not classed due to that. And so it's like this crazy thing.
Yeah, my favorite part is while the director is like telling all of the children what's up, you've got Lenina over with her girlfriend, and you basically see all the creating of what's going on into a scene of like real life.
Yeah, like current application.
Yeah.
Like everything we do leads to this type of society.
Yeah, exactly. I kind of love that. It's my favorite.
That is really cool. I don't even know if I noticed it really.
I can't think of like a single example. Okay, so Lenina is talking to Fanny while the director is talking to all of the children about how your body is free for everyone, and you are for everyone. And
everyone is
blah,
for everyone.
blah. Everyone is for everyone. Quote unquote. And then Fanny and Lenina, you got Fanny yelling, like, what are you doing staying exclusive to one boy? You're supposed to be blah, blah, blah. Everyone is for everyone. And so realistically, it's like a parallel. Everything was a parallel. It was really beautiful. It was my favorite, like, introduction to how all of the conditioning really created this society. You know what I mean? The behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
How they're conditioned.
If you're doing... Because they had the, like, sleep hypnosis type stuff, right? People don't like that, okay? Even if you tell them it's normal, they're like, I don't like it.
You're not telling a parent to play for it, and the one child, like, telling you no, because there's no parents.
Yeah, no, the mother, what?
There's no mothers and fathers. So you can't just be all like 1 out of 20 kids who's like, I don't want to hear this. It's the norm. They do it from when you're an embryo to when you're like 16 or something. Ask Bernard, he would definitely know.
See, I feel like in real world, given that they make these people, and you could potentially, if you were a billionaire or trillionaire, go make a freaking place and then make all these babies and have like 50 employees to start off with, and then make your own society and do a Brave New World. You could just do it. I feel like people, even with all the conditioning and even without an outside knowledge, they'd be like, this is whack. I don't. Even the lowest cases, like, what's her name? Was that her name?
Yeah, Lana. Who just happens to be dating someone.
Yeah, she just had some kind of, like, natural to her reaction of polygamy.
Like this guy.
Monogamy.
Dating.
Not to say that monogamy is natural, but to some people it's natural. So she had a natural monogamous instinct, and her society was like, no. And she was just like, nope, I'm gonna do it. That's what I feel like doing, and it doesn't hurt anybody, so I'm doing it.
No, that's not what happens. She goes on a date with Bernard.
Well, she was. You know, like, she didn't keep herself from doing it altogether.
Yeah, it was like months and months.
She wasn't terrified to be, like, found out.
And then the next thing that happens is the date with Bernard and Lenina.
And that...
Yeah.
That's when
What?
I'm just excited for this part.
It takes them like forever, and they're on like this beautiful, I don't remember what it said, like a train ride, I think. Bernard, he was all like, isn't it just so beautiful? And Lenina is just like crying, embarrassing herself. It's really, really hilarious the way that she reacts. Why do you remember?
Because all I remember from Bernard and Lena's date was when unless I'm just remembering a different one, is he's all like, this shit's whack. And she's like, what are you talking about? And he's like, it's whack. Everything's whack. It's literally ass backwards whack. But yeah, he's like criticizing the whole sociological structure of like, isn't that what happens at that point? What the fuck is this whole adventure? Yeah, they're in a monorail. It's Lenina and Henry.
Henry Foster?
I think. I don't know. They don't give last names.
Oh yeah, that'll be Henry Foster, her like exclusive boyfriend.
Yeah.
Who works with Bernard. They're on the same floor.
Mm-hmm. He has the same job. So Lenina goes and she says, I suppose epsilons don't really mind being epsilons. And then Bernard says, of course they don't. How can they? They don't know what it's like being anything else. We'd mind, of course, but then we've been differently conditioned. Besides, we start with different heredity. It's not really, I don't think it's like the, like, top part of the even, like, theme or reason for the conversation, but Henry's describing what's wrong with everything. He's like, they don't know because they can't know. They're not privy to that knowledge. They're not given the ability. He's saying at the beginning of the book what John says at the end of the book.
That's what I was literally about to say.
Yeah.
Like, John saw right through that, not even epsilons, like every single class. You just don't know any better. You don't know any freer. You're all so mud out.
Yeah, as soon as you start to become an individual, they put you on a drug that puts you in a state that everybody's the same in.
Yeah, and if you don't like that, you're off the island.
You vote it off. Yeah, so I love that part, that right there, right at the beginning.
And then we get to Lenina going on her date with Bernard, and then they go to
A reservation.
a reservation.
That's what they call it.
That's what they call it. I was gonna say like a real civilization, but you know, whatever they want to call it.
They go to essentially what's the real world.
Yeah. So they go to a reservation, and then we meet John and his mother, Linda. Same name, Lena, Linda. Why you gotta do that to us, Huxley?
That hurt. So at this point, I actually got messed up, and I thought that Lenina was Linda, and she got trapped on the reservation, like in the story that one guy told Henry or John or not John or somebody about how they went to a reservation and she got lost and they just had to leave and she was just lost and he had no idea what happened to her. And so I thought that Lenina got trapped. Not the case. Two different people.
Two completely different humans.
So when Linda goes back to the Brave New World, I have a completely different idea of what all that was.
She's going back home after like 30 years. Or not 30 years. However old John is.
But Lenina just goes back home at the end of her little adventure.
Yeah.
And then, but at that point, that's when we start reading about John and Linda.
It's very complicated. But yeah, the parallel between Linda and Lenina is exactly there. She was conditioned literally to a T, exactly like Linda. And it makes you think about like 18, 20 years past, however old John is. Their world doesn't move whatsoever. They're literally just moving in the same exact steady pace, just conditioning and making the next population do the same exact thing. And it just reminds me so much of WALL-E. And so when you ever just want a sequel to Brave New World, just know that's WALL-E. Like, to a T. People moving in one direction, so much to a point where you get robots and everyone is Nalpha Plus. And in this case, it does work because no one has to do the garbage work everyone who is non-Nova Plus is a robot. Like, literally, hashtag Yang Gang right there. But then the world moves nowhere for 700 years. And it's like, you can't do that.
There's no point.
There's no point in living.
That's friggin' Snowpiercer.
That's Snowpiercer, yeah.
A little different, but...
That's a whole different sequel. For sure.
So we're on the reservation for a while. I feel like I don't remember most of what happens. I feel like it's just like talking a lot about how Linda has a bunch of male visitors, and then how
John grew up a little bit with his stepdad.
He did?
Yeah, and he was like a super jerk. But then one day John tried to kill him, and then they became like BFFs.
Yeah.
So cute.
Yeah, that was
really
so
cute.
weird.
So funny right here. In Futurama, with the alien, like Zorg, the lord of the planet Omicron per CIA. We were watching the episode where the son was getting his Boy Scouts badge, and the dad was reading the book, and he's all like, blah, 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 patricide, we'll work up to that one, bud. And I'm just like, 'cause that'd be him killing you.
Patricide?
Yeah.
Doesn't he kill your father?
Yeah. It's a warrior thing, dude. Anyways, so after that happened, the John's stepdad, like, super duper respected him. I don't remember his name whatsoever. Should we talk about, like, when they bring John back to the place? And Linda. The schmoop says that Bernard gets fired, but I honestly don't remember that being true. I remember him turning around and saying, well, what about this? And out pops John and Linda, and everyone's all like,
Nobel Peace Prize.
yeah, and honestly, like, with that, he didn't seem fired whatsoever, and I was kind of curious about that for a few chapters, and they didn't allude to it. But according to Schmoop here, Bernard gets fired and takes takes Soma to deal with it. I do kind of remember his aura changing a lot, his attitude. Like, from fairly just normal Bernard, who was negative, to, like, so negative, he was taking Soma and almost like, whoa, you're slipping into conditioned society there, Bernard. What are you doing? So, John is suddenly in the Brave New World. I don't think we've talked about this at all yet, but he was basically raised by Shakespeare. And, like, sprinkles of what Linda could do for conditioning, but that was not her field, so she did not do very well.
I also feel like it was more like an instinct. She like sang things to him that were like the repetitious things. Mm-hmm. And it was just kind of like, when I grew up I heard this kind of thing. That's how I felt about it. And then she like talked about it positively, so that definitely reinforced like Brave New World good. Because before,
he thought it was amazing.
He thought it was like heaven.
Yeah, there was honestly a really, really beautiful statement in the end where he was all like, now that I have seen everything, I'm not gonna let it spoil the envisionment of what I thought the Brave New World was. Because he realized he didn't like it whatsoever.
We're gonna go back. John growing up had Shakespeare. And so, like, I feel like in the world, not the Brave New World, in the world of the story, I feel like it's not like right now is. You know what I mean? It feels more dystopian. Like books were hard to come by even out there. Like
humble in his sexuality. But he was just so shameful and like afraid of everything that had to do with sex. I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that his mom was beat up by all the wives and women and his stepdad.
I was going to say, and probably some of the men.
So part of that, and the fact that he was raised with the Book of Shakespeare, which is like way back in the day when
chastity was valued.
Yeah, like way valued. Like it was a value.
Yeah, pure. I don't associate promiscuity with, badness, but in the people he was around, they did. And so when your parent has something bad they do that leads their life down a wrong path, you tend not to go that way. So he wasn't going to be that way because it was like the one thing wrong with his perfect mother.
Yeah, he really loved her other than that. It was really so beautiful. But then because she wasn't there with all of the modern medicine, there as in the Brave New World, she got like all super duper old and then obviously took a bunch of soma and then
they had like a gross on the reservation. They didn't have soma. They had like
she may have looked even older because of that.
Yeah.
That's true.
Because she was taking like a drug. Some was like the world's cleanest manufactured like Molly in the world. Whereas she was like drinking.
Oh yeah, and then she would just like feel like super crappy. So when she went to the Brave New World, she took a ridiculous amount of soma and didn't feel crappy because it's part of the plus of soma. But then the doctors were like, she'll have 2 or 3 months to live with this rate, but we're not gonna stop her.
They also said that like the only time soma isn't a perfectly safe supplement is when you don't do it and then you do a crap ton. That's what they said. They were like, well, she didn't have soma for so long and she did so much when she got back.
Either way, you do so much of one thing.
True.
It's not gonna be.
She did so much soma that it messed with her.
That was really sad, and I think that was kind of the trigger or the climax. She dies, and John has his amazing Riot.
He just like mourned his mom's death.
Yeah, but he didn't just mourn his mom's death. He saw all of everyone going to get their soma, and he was just like, don't you see what this is doing to you?
Poison.
It's poison. And like throws it all over the place and like throws it out the window, and then the frickin' Riot gear comes in, shooting the soma spray at everybody, and Bernard's just like, he's over there. He's kind of the worst in this situation. Like, can we just all admit that? And then it's like, F this. I'm gonna go live in a lighthouse. Can we just say people started having orgies in front of his house? Why? Like,
because he didn't like it.
Because he didn't like it?
Yeah.
They weren't just like freaking excited by all of the everything, and that's the only thing they know to do when people get excited?
Yeah, he was whipping himself, and then they told him to keep doing it.
Yeah.
And then
I think someone like started banging on a drum, and you know what that means with conditioning. Orgy.
There's one song.
There's one song.
Sounds like cult sacrificial chant. I don't remember that they banged. I thought they were just chanting orgy porgy.
No, dude. They were straight up having a bang. The next day, they come by, and I'm all like, are they planning on doing this, like, weekly? Like, that's where the orgy is now? Outside of John's house?
The one guy who doesn't want to see it?
Yeah. And it's John's feet.
Swinging in the wind.
Swinging there.
Yeah. That was because of the whipping incident. And they, like, threw shit at him or something. It's just like...
Oh, no, they threw, like, hormone.
Sex gum.
Sex gum.
That was groupthink. And like
Kind
you
of
said,
worse.
kind of like that was the only thing they knew to do. So that's what they do. Like they don't actually know violence. Like they weren't throwing the gum at him to hurt him. They're throwing at him like laughing. Like when a kid throws a tantrum and you throw some candy at him. Come on, man, quit crying. This guy's crying, guys. Let's all have sex because he's crying, guys.
Yeah. I wouldn't have been surprised if Soma was in the list of things that were thrown at him.
Right.
Like, I think the people of that age were literally all children. And I think that's one of the things that John said. I want the right to be unhappy. Forced happiness isn't happiness.
Yeah, we went on a nice, great talk about living in a society that allows everybody to, like, actually be free and happy. There's bad ideas like anarchy, like if you're badass enough, you can do whatever you want. And whoever's the most badass can do the most. And so you're free to be as badass as you can be and then do whatever you want. And then there's essentially the unspoken, like, you can get lucky, you can be rich, you can work impossibly hard and still get lucky on top of that, and then you can do whatever you want. And then, you know, just like the overall, like, theology of, like, just don't view life as so restricted. Focus on what you can do, and then realize that you are free and you can do whatever you want. But all that's crap, because then when we were talking to your dad about, like, well, what if I want to go live off of the land? And he's all like, oh yeah, well, you got to pay taxes. And I'm like, how am I going to pay taxes when I'm living off the land? And he's like, well, you have to sell to something, you have to make something. And I'm like, how am I going to have time to do that when I have to keep my house working and my plumbing working and food in my stomach, and it's winter in Michigan, and now I have to stock up for... It's not. I'm not free. I'm not free. If I'm not free to go live without your rules, I'm not free.
And so that's why the what's his name? Mustafa Man, he's all like, they don't know freedom. They don't even know what you mean. They don't even understand the definitions of the words that you're saying. Just because you throw out some out the window, like, doesn't mean we can't get more. And it won't realistically do anything. It's kind of disappointing when you think about it. Like, hey, you just wasted a bunch of time and effort.
There's no hope to open these people's minds.
Yeah. There's no hope.
We've completely conditioned them. They're done. There's no changing them at this point. So the whole book, like, all together after finishing it, not the ending necessarily, but the whole book made me think, like, because the world that John lived in seemed like it was crap. And then the Brave New World seems like it was crap. And then, like, Wall-E is crap. Like, pretty much everything future world, I mean, granted, all of the scenarios we usually are talking about are dystopian movies or books or whatever, so it's like literally it's supposed to be crap. That's part of it. It's like this is supposed to not be a good version of society.
Yeah, dystopian. Not utopian.
Yeah, not utopian. So, like, the only utopian societies we see that I've seen that I can conjure up are iRobot and Star Trek.
Love Star Trek.
The way Star Trek works is kind of confusing. I don't think that they touch up enough the epsilon type jobs. Like, they don't come right out and say what they say in iRobot, which is like, robots do that.
They really don't. Just character and quality based on what I can tell. Like, there's no money. There's just moving up in ranks. And that's cool, I think.
From what they say, you can choose your career path, and then you are just allowed to go do it. So, like, they do explain that they fixed society issues, like
World
greed.
hunger.
Yeah, and so, like, yeah. It is confusing because they never, answer the question of, like, what about any lazy people and all the, like, what keeps the world from just having way too many people be like, oh, yeah, I just don't want to work. I just want to do whatever I want to do all the time. So they don't really answer that. But they don't in iRobot either. So the only answer I could think of, and it, like, racked my brain, I, like, had to figure it out for some reason, is that it would be like the Brave New World in how they're brought up. I shake my hands because I wouldn't ever want anybody conditioned in the level that they are in Brave New World.
No, not at that extent.
Like, created specifically, definitely not that. That goes against the whole idea I have. But is that, you'd be brought up and they teach you about value and they teach you about self-expression and empathy and everything that actually makes a good person. And they teach you how to be good people, and they teach you basic skills like they do in a normal high school. And then pretty much go get an epsilon level job. And then that way, until we can have robots do epsilon level jobs, or even if they do, but we need people to watch the places where all those robots do those jobs, those kids can do it for, like, especially because we've figured out in our real world and in A Brave New World, epsilons could work 4-hour days. They could work 3-hour days, but what's the point, is what they say. But the point is freedom. And so you have these kids work epsilon jobs for the first 2-3 years of their lives, which they already are going to do in our society. But then they get to move up. And then as you move up through your life, you can move up in ranks for whatever career thing you want to do, like a Star Trek society. And also, when you're an old-ass person, you don't have to live an epsilon life. You don't have to work. You can go and do what retiring is supposed to be right now. And then because people die and are born, that would be an ever-working thing where no one is ever unhappy their whole life.
Can I jump in?
Dive.
I think that the reason why this doesn't work in our world today is because retirement doesn't work. Retirement age is far too high. People work well into their age. People don't die as soon as they do in this book. They say that they pretty much don't get old, which means that they die before they look old. And even though they can stop the wrinkles from coming, they still just die while being probably like 60, maybe 70, pushing it.
But they don't actually like extend life.
No, they don't actually extend life at all. They say that like right in the beginning of the book, that's one of the things they're still trying to do. But in our world, we have guys working well into their 70s, well into their 80s. We don't have fast food managers that are just like 20 years old, which is like what you would be saying in your scenario.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I might have too many emotions on that.
No,
one.
that's exactly it. And that's because society is... The real issue with our world is we don't have structure like they do in A Brave New World. If they had good values in A Brave New World and had their structure and technology, you'd have a utopia.
For sure.
That's the difference usually between dystopia and utopia.
That's why people want to get at least 2 years, an associate's degree of higher education free. Because even those 2 years will make the society that much better.
Yeah, bad people limit knowledge like the people in A Brave New World. They don't want you to question society, so they don't give you the ability to get the information that shows you that there's a different possibility so that you would be able to question.
Yeah. That's the fact. But it's freedom of knowledge. It's freedom of not being ignorant. People who have been taught the wrong history straight up will not know what happened, and they don't have the ability to understand or rationalize anything like anyone else. Specifically talking about how history books can sometimes be completely wrong.
Yeah, they can hurt everything because they
can make prejudices even worse.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Perpetuate
whatsoever.
prejudice.
Perpetuate is literally the word I was thinking of.
Yeah. To get back to what I was saying, thank you for all of that, for sure. Like taxes. In America, I don't know about it, I've never lived anywhere else. People are always like, more taxes, less taxes, da-da-da. I don't want to pay taxes for this thing, but I would pay taxes for that thing. It's like you pay taxes for everything. Everybody's taxes pay for everything. But the problem is that if you actually get to look at allocation, many things don't get the tax money that is provided for it, and it doesn't get done. So people want higher taxes so that things get done, but the money is provided to take care of that issue.
It's just not being allocated properly.
Yeah, exactly. So American taxes, what I'm talking about, is just a good example of how we have the ability to create a structure to live in a seemingly utopian society. The problem is just that the structure isn't kept to. People are allowed to get through it and around it. If our structure was that built to end world hunger, it would be gone. If our structure...
Honestly, though, if that was the focus of everything...
There was some statistic done that if all the billionaires with more than $5 billion gave this many $1 million, we could end world hunger for this many tens of years. And then they were and mind you, that's no millionaires giving any money, just billionaires. They just can. It's affordable. It would work.
Oh, they've been saying that for 10 years.
It's because people don't want to.
Probably been saying that for 25 years.
Because the oil and the coal and all of the things that are here.
Yeah, and they stop it from happening.
And so the only structure that's kept to is structure that it has enough money in it already. And so that's why Star Trek works, because money doesn't matter.
The only thing I'd want to add to this is we have the Brave New World in our existence right now. Minus the fact that we don't have one complete soma, but we do have conditioning and classes and people of alpha pluses, alphas, betas, epsilons, and all of that jazz. And they're all conditioned exactly like that.
Yeah, differently from each other, but the same in each group.
Yeah, have you ever seen Cory in the House? There are schools that are insanely rich who get lots and lots of information and lots of great teachers and tutors and sports and equipment. And whereas if you turn to the complete opposite of that, there are people who don't even have the ability to go to school. Or if they do have the ability, the teachers don't have the resources. And it's all just crap. And maybe even the textbooks are 10, 20 years out of date. Yeah. Science moves, history moves.
Things are updated.
The world is not good right now in the way that Brave New World is not good. We are not free right now unless one is woke enough to liberate themselves with lots and lots of knowledge. It's just disappointing. I wish we could write the whole world. I wish what we could do is what Lauren's saying, and that have everyone move through the same exact stream of moving up from epsilon to alpha plus.
Yeah, and you choose your own path down that stream.
It's basically my entire senior thesis in one sentence right there. Real freedom. But it's just me. I get a little worked up when it comes to some things, such as inequality. It's not a laughing matter.
No. This topic just always gets me so deep in thought. I mean, because, my feeling when I get so deep into thought is, if I wrote it, though, and it was so good, and compelling, and you couldn't argue with the value of it, wouldn't at some point they have to fucking be oh my god, this is how we need to run society?
Yeah.
Screw democracy, screw
Do you know how many people have written that book, including myself? I'm almost, I'm not starting a book, but 10 pages is something. It's happening. We're slowly getting there. Well, I love talking about this book, and I'm really, really glad to have shown you, and you loved it.
It blew my brains.
Yeah. So please share your thoughts in the comments. I hope you have already read this book. Do your homework yourself. I don't care. But yeah. Have a great President's Day. And do you have anything you want to say? Any shout outs?
Orgy porgy.
Shout out to the orgy porgies, guys. Alright, have a great day, and we love you. Bye.
I wish my school would have talked about this.
Your school didn't have you read it?
No.
Dude.
For one of these days that will never end, that just seem to spend for hours on end, switching back and forth, 10-inch, 67-inch, 4-inch, 4K, 1080p. You're wasting your time, not making friends. You don't understand, where did they all go? Now what you have to say, stuff I already know, 'cause someone flipped himself and is talking you through, so don't feel alone. Baby, come on. wish I could go back.